Yay!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the inaugural episode 1 of To Be Frank. My name is Frank Cerise, for those of you who do not know me. This is our first time trying this. I'm the only guy talking here. No one else bouncing things off back and forth. Excited to do this, wanted to do this for a while. So essentially what we're going to do with this show here is try to build from it. Right now, we're really just turning on this mic and going. I have some topics I want to go through, talk a little bit about myself, talk about the business, what Champaign Athletics is like day in and day out, get you to know me a little better. Of course, we're going to talk Detroit sports. We're going to have topics about that, and then some pop culture things and just what's going on in the world. So I appreciate you guys taking about an hour, a little less than an hour, hang out with me, talk, hear some thoughts. Would love your feedback on everything that we got going on here. Now, a lot of you guys, probably listen to The Fizz. So if you listen to The Fizz, you're probably taking a shot listening to this new podcast here. The Fizz still exists. It's still around. Lou and Chandler, still my boys. Love those guys. But as you know, if you have been listening, following, we've become inconsistent with the recording. Both those guys pretty much own their own businesses. Chandler's got a kid now. There's a lot going on. And they live very far from our downtown office here in Detroit. So things have just gotten a little bumpy. I mean, we were awesomely consistent during the summer, and then during our most important time during fall, we kind of failed you guys, but we still love doing it. We're just working things out on the fly, but I wanted to have a space where we could get content on this podcast platform, YouTube platform, week in, week out. And the easiest way to do it was to just sit down right here in the office and talk to you guys directly. So that's what we have. It's To Be Frank. And again, would love to hear topics that you want discussed, questions you want answered. And we're going to keep evolving this thing and hopefully grow it. This is just number one. So the first thing I'll talk about is just to give a little background on myself. I mean, I named a show after myself, very self-centered thing we're doing here. So might as well take the time to let you know who I am. So like I said, I'm Frank, owner of Champaign Athletics. Champaign Athletics was started January 1st, 2017. And what it was an online blog. So I had graduated from Michigan State in 2013. I moved out to Chicago for a little bit, and then I moved home, and I wanted to create a website that talked about Detroit sports culture and talked about the humor of it. And some of the first articles that were written on that website were things like why, how much I loved Molson XXX at the Detroit Red Wings games, how well I thought Justin Verlander handled his dick pic situation. I talked about Erica Ott, and these were just some of the articles that gained traction right off the rip. It was nothing highbrow, nothing too long of a read, but we put in humor, we put in time, energy, and dedication to it. It was on Facebook, it was on Instagram, Twitter, and over the last few years, it's grown. It's grown the largest on Instagram, but we're pulling substantial followings on TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter now. We've done the podcast with The Fizz. We have an online store, and we've done some pretty cool things over the years. And we just crossed January 1st, so we are in our 9th year as Champaign Athletics, which is very exciting. And we just want to continue to grow and build our offerings of what we're able to do here. All right, quick question for you guys. What does your perfect drink look like? Because for us here at Champaign Athletics, it's Surfside. Surfside is a ready-to-drink vodka cocktail made with real vodka, real tea, and real juice. No carbonation, no weird aftertaste, just smooth, easy drinking. Each can is 100 calories, low sugar, and seriously refreshing. Whether you're at the beach, on the golf course, tailgating, or just kicking it at home, Surfside fits the moment. Iced tea and vodka, lemonade and vodka, plus a bunch of other great flavors that you guys got to try. Crack one open, and you're good to go. And I know I mentioned a lot of warm weather activities. You can get these things at LCA during the Red Wings game, during a Pistons game. They are awesome no matter what the weather is. So you can find Surfside at retailers nationwide or in the stadiums like I just mentioned. Go learn more at drinksurfside.com. And please remember, Surfside is for adults 21 and over. Please drink responsibly. So I worked sales and marketing jobs for a very long time. Not a very long time. I mean, since I graduated college up until 2023, so about 10 years. And in the background, I was always doing Champagne, whether it was the Instagram, writing blogs, designing stuff for the store, outside of work hours, during work hours, I was sneaking it around, got in trouble at work for working on other work. And at the end of 2023, I was able to break off on my own and do Champagne Athletics by itself. It got some partners involved with me, some guys who are the smartest guys I know, guys who are a lot smarter than me. You've heard me mention Jerry before. Jerry handles all our finances. I can't balance a fucking checkbook, so he makes sure the company does not go bankrupt. My childhood buddy, Steven, who is the smartest guy in the world that I know, he helps me with big business decisions. And then another partner is Michael. Michael is a very smart, business savvy man, and he gave us startup cash to get this thing off the ground. The original plan with Champagne Athletics was to really just do brand partnerships, create content like we're doing right now, and then get brand partnerships. We got Surfside here, we got Jets here in the background of the video, and we thought we were going to build, this empire of just advertising right off the rip. Well, when I broke off on my own, Champagne only had about 10,000 followers on Instagram. We weren't able to grow like we have now. And, quickly we were just kind of hemorrhaging cash. Like we really didn't have a sustainable business at all. So what I did was launch the agency, and the agency helps businesses with marketing, social media, graphic design, websites, SEO, anything that a marketing team might need, content creation, all that stuff. That is what we do. And we've been fortunate enough over the last 2 years to grow that side of the business, the Champagne agency side of the business, to be able to bootstrap the athletic side of the business. So, shameless plug here. If you're a business that needs marketing help, we're in Detroit. We love helping businesses. We've helped a ton of different industries, from food and beverage to staffing to finance to academia. A lot of different industries that we've supported over our last 2 years here, and we love doing it. So if you have a business or someone wants to work with us, we'd love to help you. And then we can also promote you on this channel, which is Champagne Athletics. So that is the Spark Notes and the fastest way to explain what Champagne Athletics is, what Champagne the agency is. And really, I just was a journalism major from Michigan State University. I really like creating things, and I love Detroit sports. I absolutely love them. I have passion for them. And the reason athletics was started was because as many people feel, Detroit is overlooked on a national media scale. Major accounts don't love covering Detroit. And the people who do usually aren't from here. They're not from the area. They don't understand what it's like to be a fan of these teams. They don't understand what it's like to be a Michigander, to be a Detroiter. So I wanted to create an authentic grassroots voice, and that's what we did with Champagne Athletics. And that is how we started, and that's how we've grown. So I'm very happy to be here and be a part of it. And it's not just me. I have a great support staff here. Producer Mike is my right-hand man, filming everything that we do. He's here producing this right now, listening to me in this 700 square foot office, just talk into a camera. So I appreciate everything he does, and have other support staff around me, like the guys I mentioned. So this year was a big year for Champagne. It was a lot of ups and downs, a lot of growth, a lot of learnings. It's been fun. It's been stressful, but I wouldn't trade it for anything else in the world. Me and my wife, Sarah, we had our first kid. We had our son, Archer Benjamin Cerise, on November 23rd. He was born as Hutchinson was sacking Jameis Winston versus the Giants, as the Lions were winning that game. So life has changed. Now I'm a dad. What a wild and crazy experience that has been. Very fortunate, very blessed. We wanted children. We had children. He's healthy. He's happy. Everyone's good to go. And it was, the birth was just kind of crazy with how the Lions game was going on at the same time. And I know that sounds ridiculous. Like, why would you even care about the Lions during the birth of your child? But I know there's a ton of you out there who absolutely would care about the Lions game, even if it was during the birth of your child. And everything was going so well. And my wife went into labor and began intensive pushing of our son right as the Lions went into overtime. It was crazy. It was wild. And I told the nurses while we were there, like, whoever scores this first touchdown for the Lions, we're naming our son that. So as you remember, Lions go to overtime, hand off to Jahmyr Gibbs. He goes right up the gut, touchdown right away. You know, I thought for sure we were naming this boy Jahmyr. There was no doubt in my mind we were going to have Jahmyr Cerise, all because he scored a touchdown versus the Lions. That didn't fly. That didn't happen. But I'll never forget the moment, you know, Archie, we're going to call him Archie. Archie was born. And obviously you remember the moments they're born, but like it was crazy, you know. I'm watching the Lions game. Hutchinson gets the sack. You know, announcer on the TV right away is like, and the Lions win. Doctor yells, baby. Nurse yells, 4:35. And then you hear Archie just crying. Moment I'll never forget. And I'll never forget the Lions coming back and beating the Giants on that day. So that's the Spark Notes on me. That's the Spark Notes on the business and running this. You know, the support we've had over the years and the growth we've had has just been awesome. And I wanted to give you guys more of an inside look of kind of what makes this place run, how this goes, and, you know, talk about what we're doing on a week-to-week basis here. But we were just talking about the Lions. So let's do some Detroit sports here. Let's talk about where we're at as Detroit sports fans. I feel like it's been a transformative last 4 years. We've almost had every team go from worst to first in some aspect. Since starting Champaign Athletics, 2017, I believe we've had 2 Pistons playoff appearances, and recently 2 Tigers playoff appearances, recently 2 Lions playoff appearances, and 0 from the Red Wings. I don't believe the Red Wings have made a single playoff appearance since we've started this whole thing, this whole endeavor. But right now, Detroit Red Wings in first place. So the Detroit Red Wings, my first love of sports and Detroit sports in general. Love all of them. Love them all to death, but if I had to pick, you know, gun to head, the Detroit Red Wings were my first love. I was a hockey player growing up. Steve Yzerman was my guy, my hero. Got the big poster of him behind me. We were able to interview him a few years ago. So I'm a huge wing nut, huge Red Wings fan. Wings in first place right now. It's all very exciting. It's great to see it all come together. The amount of Yzer plan and Yzerman hate that he's gotten over the years is absolutely ridiculous. And I always get yelled at and piled on, and people love poking fun at me about how Yzerman's got to go, how bad Yzerman's been. You know, and it is like people will say to you, the only reason Yzerman, you know, before this year, before we were good, like they would say, the only reason Yzerman has his job is because his last name is Yzerman. And, you know, that's probably true to some extent. Like, I don't deny that whatsoever. But I'm also just kind of like, with the amount of joy and pleasure that Yzerman brought Detroit sports, all the Stanley Cups, he's arguably the face of Detroit hockey, you know, maybe against Gordie Howe, but like I would argue for a more modern era, it's definitely Steve Yzerman. For all of that, like, how do you not give the guy the grace to grow the thing how he said he was going to grow it? NHL rebuilds take a long time. The people you're drafting are like 18 to 20 years old. They don't join the rosters right away unless they're a one-of-one, you know, top 3 pick and they're just an absolute stud. It's not the NFL. It's not the NBA. These things take time. And so for all the people just wanting to burn Yzerman at the stake, like, I understand sports and the sports world is like, what have you done for me now? But you have to have, for someone who's done something so great for you, for the town of hockey, he's the reason this place is called Hockey Town. Like, you have to give him some grace. And it wasn't like he was promising Stanley Cups right off the rip. He said this thing is going to take a while. We're going to rip it down to the studs, and I'm going to build it my way, and I'm going to build a champion with my draft picks. So it's fun, especially for me this year, to hear how quiet it is on the Yzerman front, because we are in first place. And you get all those people who say, well, yeah, well, we'll see what happens in March. And I hear you. I absolutely hear you. We will see what happens in March, but they got to make the playoffs this year. And I have folders upon folders of Yzerman hate comments that I just can't wait to unleash on the world when this team is actually good and competing year in and year out for a Stanley Cup. So we will see what happens come March, but I do have confidence this team is finally going to break their playoff drought, which has been going on for a while. As far as the Pistons go, Pistons rock. Pistons just, they fucking rock. Like, they're just so good. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I know what's going on with basketball or the NBA. I will be the first to admit, I'll put my hand up. I have no problem doing it. I'm a bandwagon Pistons fan. I'm into the Pistons about as much as how good they are, if that makes sense. If they're not that good, I'm not really watching. If they're good, I'm tuning in. And maybe you don't like that. Maybe that bothers you as a diehard Pistons fan. I'm not a gatekeeper of any of the sports. I don't care if you're a bandwagon sports fan. These things are here to enjoy. People enjoy things how they want to. So I don't care if you're like, Matt, I'm a bandwagon Pistons fan, but I'm not going to sit here and know why they're good outside of Cade Cunningham being a bona fide all-star. I just know that they rock, and they just beat the New York Knicks, who is like arguably their best competition in the East. And it seems like we have a chance to win the championship here, or at least go to the Eastern Conference Finals, which I'm excited about. And it's not like I've never been a Pistons fan. Growing up, AIM, I'm sure you guys all, I don't know if I'm dating myself, but AIM, my screen name on AOL was Fear Duffro 333 when the whole town was Pistons crazy and the Red Wings were locked out. What a time. What a time to be alive with those Pistons. But so let's move into the Detroit Lions, something I actually do know something about. Love them to death. Probably second favorite team in Detroit. Definitely the team that causes the most controversy, the most conversations. You know, I think back in the day when the Lions were like losing 16 games a season, when they're going 0-16, you know, losing double digits all the time, I'm pretty sure they draw in more revenue than all three other teams combined. So while this is Hockey Town, and I love it being Hockey Town, and it's got a rich history of Hockey Town, like, we've all seen what happens when the Lions are good. And it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Like, the last two seasons, not the 9-8 one we just had, but the the one where we went to the NFC Championship game, and the 15-2 season. Just absolute football town, bonkers. Every week, every home game, me and the squad are out on the streets, Eastern Market, in front of the stadium, talking to fans. Just an absolute crazy ass football town. And the camaraderie and just the craziness of, you know, the Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes movement, clearing out the roster, the Goff comeback story. They haven't won a championship. They haven't even, gone to a Super Bowl. They've won two divisions. And, they've had a winning record for 4 years in a row. So there's still a lot to prove. But as far as like a movement and a wave of a team story and a program story, it's up there. It's up there for all history of Detroit sports. Now, the last thing to do for the Detroit Lions is to win a Super Bowl. Hell, fucking go to one. But you got to win one. Because at the end of the day, this is all fun. This is all crazy. But all this is a different version of the Detroit Tigers in the Dombrowski era when we had these all-star teams that were amazing but never won a World Series. Still no World Series since 1984. All of those amazing rosters, all of the Triple Crowns, all of the MVPs, they're great. You can look back at them and go, man, that was awesome. What a time. That felt good. That was sweet. But without the World Series, without the championship, it's incomplete. And that's where we're at with the Detroit Lions, in my opinion. This season was the weirdest season we've had in the Dan Campbell era. So Dan Campbell era, we have a shitty traditional Detroit Lions season. I think 3-13-1, 3-12-1, something like that. Really bad year. Then we start the next year 1-8 and win our last 8 to close the year. Something like that. Maybe not last 8. I think we lost to Carolina somewhere in there. Either way, we finished the season 9-8. Now we're on the upswing. Following season, I think we finish 12-4 or 12-5. Maybe 13-4. I don't really remember. Win the division, go to the Super Bowl. or don't go to the Super Bowl, go to the NFC Championship game, killing them at halftime, and then famously collapse. Next season, we're even better, 15-2. It looks like this is the season of magic. We're fighting Minnesota tooth and nail all the way down to the last game of the season. And then we just get mollywopped by an upstart Washington team at home. Now, I had the take at the time that loss, that defeat was way more brutal than the San Francisco loss. Now, as I look back, I don't know if that's absolutely true, but the momentum I felt like with the San Francisco loss, we were playing with house money. Everything we were doing was house money. We were just happy to be there. I was so happy and in bliss that the Lions were this good. And we were not favored versus San Francisco. We were not expected to win that game. So I think everything with me there was, it was just it was money in the bank already. Now, it was devastating. It was heartbreaking. And then you go through these last two seasons and you're like, damn, that was the closest we ever got. And we had them against the ropes, and we probably could have beat that Kansas City team in the Super Bowl. And you go, damn, we were right there. We had it. But at the time, going 15-2, really feeling like we were the best team in the NFL, and we really felt like a team of destiny because we had a million injuries. Things weren't perfect, but we were still just finding ways to win. And we won that division, and we had the bye, and we were gonna have home field advantage all the way to the Super Bowl. It felt like the year of destiny, and then to just get ran over by that upstart Washington team felt so unexpected. We were huge favorites. That one just really took the wind out of my sails, almost more than the San Francisco one. Now, like I said, looking back, it's hard to say because San Francisco, we were obviously closer to winning the Super Bowl. We were healthier. Looking back, even the roster looks better. But at the time, I definitely felt like the Washington loss was a lot worse. So then you enter 2025. And the lead story of this whole year is Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson and the coordinators. Now look, Aaron Glenn goes to the Jets. Everyone liked Aaron Glenn. Everyone thinks Aaron Glenn's great, as a person. I don't remember one person this season ever saying, hey, man, we're missing Aaron Glenn right now. No one really said that. I mean, maybe some folks thought that when Shep wasn't getting the job done, but it wasn't a glaring issue. The defense was just bad in general, and Aaron Glenn had his flaws running our defense as well. Ben Johnson, however, really kind of crammed it down our throats. The Bears win the division, even though I think it's a complete fluke season. Maybe not complete fluke, but fluky-ass season. We can talk about that in a second. But Ben Johnson was obviously the biggest gap and black hole of what we were missing this season on the offensive side. What I don't understand at all is how much we mailed in this offseason. And it's been no secret if you've been following, watching videos, things I tweet out. Brad Holmes to me is public enemy number one internally with the Lions. I don't know what his master plan was this offseason. Not addressing the offensive line, not really supporting the obvious glaring needs that me and anyone from Ricky calling in from downriver to 97.1 knew that these were issues, and they weren't addressed. And it's one of those rare situations where the fans went into the season saying, I'm really worried about Ben Johnson because John Morton, I don't know, doesn't seem like the guy. I'm really worried about Shep because he's a first-year coach and he's unproven in a new position. And I'm really worried about the offensive line because we've lost Frank Ragnow. We let Zeitler walk. Graham Glasgow really isn't that great. We've only drafted a rookie and not really done a lot to address that offensive line. And we know how bad Goff is in a non-clean, perfect pocket. So to me, we all said these things. And then the obvious one, the loudest one, most likely, the offensive line should have been the loudest one, but I think most people are like, what's the edge help on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson? And these four issues that everyone, me, you, Ricky from Downriver calling in 97.1 were complaining about turned out to be exactly what was the nail in the coffin for the Detroit Lions this season. Okay, team, so today's podcast is also brought to you by Real Detroit-style pizza, because if you know, you know. We're talking about Jets pizza, thick, square, crispy cornered, and baked in a steel pan for that legendary crunch on the outside and soft, airy bite on the inside. Jets does Detroit style the right way. 8-corner pizza, bold sauce, premium cheese, and toppings stacked edge to edge. Whether you're going classic pepperoni or you're going all in with turbo crust or loading it up with toppings, this is the pizza that actually delivers. Game night, family night, late night cravings, Jets has you covered. And the best part, you can order it exactly how you want it. Hot, ready, straight to your door. So next time you're craving pizza, don't settle. Go square, go crispy, go Detroit style, go Jets pizza. Jets pizza, better because it has to be. And there is nothing more frustrating than having the 2 seasons we had prior to this one, being a top-ranked team, even like at some points during the week, like during the year, we were number 1 in power rankings. People still thought we were a Super Bowl contender. To not address these very obvious needs and then to have it all come to fruition in the worst way possible, which is finishing last in the division. So that's where it's like very, very frustrating to be a Lions fan in this situation. And you even still don't have the confidence in this regime right now that they say they're going to make changes in the offseason, but they kind of keep backtracking. Like, we're going to look at everything. And we'll see what changes we make. There might not be big changes, but we're going to make changes. And it's just like, why? Why don't we take these big swings? Why don't we use our cap space? Why don't we address the needs that we have head on? And like, you know, I'm in a group chat that bitches about this all the time. And it just feels like there is like this weird loyalty within the Detroit Lions organization to hire from within and grow it from within and stay loyal to guys who may be underperforming because, like, you know, maybe it's the right thing to do, but I don't even know if it is the right thing to do. Like, and I guess that's admirable. That's meaningful. That has value. But at the end of the day, if it's not going to get the job done, like, you got to let people walk, you know, like, there is a long list of free agents this year for the Detroit Lions. And if you look up and down that list, a lot of them should walk. Even people who people have fan loyalty to. Like, number 1 on that list, glaring for me, Alex Anzalone. Did not have a good year. Did not have, it seemed, the commitment and passion to be in that huddle and on that team and out on the field like he did before. Like, contract complaints before the year starts, complaining about playing on Christmas. Just, like, honestly, did not have a good year. Like, he's a fan favorite. He's a captain. And the Lions seem to reward their own guys with longer contracts and keeping them around longer than they probably should. And I just feel like that class of person, it's time to move on. It's time to make a tough decision. It's just a business and a football decision. You know, Brad Holmes likes his own guys. The guys he drafts, he wants to pay all of them. Are we going to be able to pay all of them? I don't know. The rumors we're hearing right now on the coordinator side, John Morton, thank God, is fired. We knew that headline was coming. That was absolutely a must have to do. Did it, thank God. But the names you're hearing now are like David Blau. No one in Detroit, none of us want that. No one wants that. And there might be beat writers and the people who think the Lions can do no wrong that are like excited about this, but I have no interest in hiring a David Blau. I want a name that's trusted, that's established. I want a fired ex-head coach to provide stability to the offensive position, who's play called before, who knows what they're doing in these situations, to bring experience and bring out the strengths that we have on offense. I don't want some internally homegrown guy in his rookie season at OC. I just don't. And Shep, awesome dude. Love his intensity. He's probably an awesome linebackers coach. There are so many great options for DC out there that I want them to replace. I want both coordinators replaced. Now, I don't think they're going to replace Shep, but I want them to do it. They're obviously replacing the OC. I don't know if they'll take a big swing. All I know is I would like established people with resumes that have done this before with a good track record on offensive and defensive side of the ball, so Dan Campbell can go back to being the head coach again. Because it was obvious picking up play calling in the middle of the season, it was a lot for him during games. To be the leader of the team, to make decisions, and then to also play call and game plan on offense. So I'm really hoping that tough decisions are made and swings are taken by Brad Holmes this season. And I've got yelled at about this on Twitter, but it just feels like Holmes made so many more appearances when everything was riding the gravy train. And maybe the quotes were just promoted more. Maybe it was more visits to 97.1 and the radio stations, but he seems like someone who, when things are going great, he loves calling out receipts and wearing the hoodies and all that stuff. And when it's not going great, it feels like you don't hear much from him. Now, someone pointed out he's done 2 press conferences last year. He'll do 2 this year. We still haven't heard from him this year. So maybe it was just 2, but at least the media of it, the promotion of it, was very much in your face when things were going well. And while Holmes had an amazing first couple of drafts and he's given us unbelievable players, some of which may get their numbers retired and some may go to Canton. There's some amazing picks like Penei Sewell, Jahmyr Gibbs, Aiden Hutchinson, even Branch and Kirby, even though they're injured right now. Amon-Ra St. Brown, probably his crown jewel of a selection. Like, they're all amazing. But if you look at the last 2 drafts, swings and misses, up and down the board. Isaac Tesla may end up being a great receiver. They gave up way too much for him. Way too many assets that we need right now. So a lot of people are down and out about the Lions, and there's a lot of people who are extremely optimistic about the Lions. I am somewhere in that middle ground where last season sucked. It was a fluke. It's yucky. Throw it away. But I feel like it's all very, very, very much fixable. But the correct moves need to be made. And that's bringing in the right coordinators, getting Dan back to being the head coach of this football team, the leader of this football team, the CEO of the program down there, fixing the offensive line. I can't say that enough. All assets should be dumped into the offensive line and then doing the same on the defensive line. I wouldn't mind if everything we did this offseason was trenches focused. We need depth there. We need reliability there. We need experience and we need health. For God's sakes, we need health. We got to stay healthy. I wasn't even going to bring up Jared Goff because I think it's a non-starter of a conversation. Dan Campbell said that's our quarterback. He's got a huge contract. Goff is the guy. Goff is still a top 10 quarterback, but you have to build around him the scenario that he needs. And the differentiator in today's NFL is a strong run game. And that's what I think we completely lost last year. We lost sight of Sonic and Knuckles. We lost sight of establishing what that run game looks like. And when that run game is strong, that's when Goff can be his most dangerous, with play action, with a clean pocket, and being accurate down the field and finding his guys. So while this season sucked, it blew for a lot of different reasons. Obviously, the Lions just having a 9-8 record. And the cherry on top is Ben Johnson and the Bears winning the division. It sucked. It blew ass. But all hope is not lost. But we need moves made this offseason. We need it. We absolutely need it. And we're begging for it as a fan base. We would rather you take the swings and miss than be conservative and miss. I think that's the sentiment of a lot of Detroit Lions fans. And let me just tell you this, Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, you win one. All you got to do is win one. We don't need 4. We don't need a playoff streak of 25 years. We need 1 Super Bowl. And you win 1 Super Bowl, we're going to build statues of you the size of the Ren-Sen, and you will be immortalized in Detroit football history forever. You will rise above echelons you could ever achieve in any other city by just winning 1 Super Bowl. That is all I want. That is all our dads want. That is all our grandpas want. None of us have seen it. None of us have been to it. You win 1, you have permission to keep the contract for the rest of my life and go 0-16. I don't care. I've already gone through 30 years of Lions misery. I just want 1 Super Bowl and we can go back to being miserable. I don't care. And you can work, you can be the coach every year. I don't care. We don't care. The other teams, Wings and Pistons, we probably want sustainability. You can win 1 and, we want to keep that performance going. We don't care with the Lions. Do not care. Every single player will get their number retired. Every statue will be built. You bring 1 Super Bowl to the Motor City, And this is just a long way of saying go all in. Go all in. Like, spend too much on the guy. Take the swing. Like, that is why I respected those Tigers teams that did not win the World Series, is Mike Ilitch spent so much money building that roster, trying to get one World Series before he died under his watch. And you couldn't blame the GM. You couldn't blame the owner. They did everything they could to bring in the right people. And right now, it feels like we're not doing that. It feels like Holmes would rather keep his guys, sign his guys, do it his way, and die on that hill, So that would be my sentiment to the Lions right now, and that's just how I feel. And that season was frustrating. It was nauseating at times. It was fluky. It made no sense. I mean, hell, we had a linebacker returning kicks to start the year. Right there, we should have known it was going to be a really, really, really strange year. I mean, hell, the Bears won the division, and they won like every close game you could think of. So let's look at the NFL playoffs. So we're going to pull up the NFL playoff bracket here, and we're going to look at the matchups we got. I am very excited for these NFL playoffs, and I'm also super sad that the Lions aren't a part of these playoffs because it feels like the most wide open NFL playoffs there have been in a very long time. Before you're always dealing with like the Chiefs on one side, even the Eagles, it felt very predictable about who's going to go to the Super Bowl. And this year, it just feels so wide open. I mean, your number one seeds are Denver and Seattle. Who'd have ever thought that? Sam Darnold, winning 14 games for the second year in a row. Bo Nix winning 14 games. You got Jacksonville at 13-4. The Patriots 14-3. Houston, maybe the hottest team in football right now, 12-5, coming all the way back. And then you have the fucking Bears going 11-6, and then Carolina winning the division with a losing record. Very, very, very on brand for the NFC South. But so let's look at these. Let's look at these games. And we'll start with Wild Card Weekend. So let's start on January 10th. We're looking at the first game, the Rams versus Carolina. The Rams are 10-point favorites in this game, 10.5-point favorites, I believe, at Carolina. Now, I don't think they're going to beat the doors off of them as bad as that line suggests. I think Carolina's going to have a little fight, a little bite to them, but the LA Rams are a dangerous team. They're a very dangerous team, which sucks for us as Lions fans because obviously the whole Stafford Goff thing, all of that's happening there. And just a sidebar, I just want to say, graphics of who won the trade, and it's got Matthew Stafford, and then it's got the Lions. You can just like type it in anywhere, really. Like who won the trade, Lions, Rams. A graphic's going to come up, and these graphics pop up every time they play each other, every time, anytime it's talked about, who won the trade? I'll tell you who won the trade. The Rams won the trade. Right now, the Rams won the trade because they won a Super Bowl, and that's all we care about. Like, let's be honest. I'm glad we got out of the basement. I'm glad we got out of poverty, and I'm glad the trade helped us. But until we win a Super Bowl, that's how we get back to a tie. And the only way you could argue it's like more than a tie is how Lions want the Super Bowl more and how much more desperate we are to win one than the Rams are. But the Rams won that trade. And back to my point about going all in, the Rams were the poster child, the face of fuck them picks. Traded all their picks to get all the players they needed to win that one Super Bowl. Went all in, said fuck it, balls to the wall, we're going to win this Super Bowl. And they did. They did. And guess what? They're back in the playoffs again with a real chance to win the Super Bowl again. They got it back. They figured it out. So fuck them picks. Fuck the cap space. Burn it all to the ground to win that one Super Bowl. The Rams did it and are in the playoffs this year, and we are not. And they have a Super Bowl ring, and we do not. So I think the Rams beat Carolina to kick off Wild Card Weekend. Don't think it's going to be a big blowout as we think. The game we're all looking forward to most this playoff weekend, Green Bay versus Chicago. Very excited to watch this one. Probably the only team that could get me to go full-blown cheesehead. I am full-blown cheesehead Green Bay fan this weekend. 1.5 point line. I just think the Bears had a look, you got to give them some credit. The Bears are a lot better team than they were last year. Ben Johnson did a good job, and we missed him sorely. Props where props are due. But I do not think the Bears' record fully symbolizes who they are. They've lost a lot of their games to close the year. It was amazing that we beat them at the end of the year. And, they're dogs at home this weekend. It's a 1.5 point game. Green Bay's favored. I'm just curious how it is when push comes to shove versus Green Bay, and I'm really hoping for a Green Bay update. But everything has kind of fallen into place for the Bears this year. They've played teams with injuries. They've had an easier schedule. Even going into this Green Bay game, like everyone's banged up on Green Bay. Like they're not getting a full, healthy Green Bay team. But I am hoping Green Bay wins this game, and I'm going to pick them to beat the Bears. I think the Bears go one and done, and the Bears go one and done. We forget about this stupid fucking fluke season, and then they get the hardest schedule in the NFL next year, and they're back in the basement, and Ben Johnson's back on the hot seat, and the world is restored to what we like. I won't even say back to normal, because back to normal would be the Lions back in last place, which is what's going on right now. But the Bears in last is a beautiful world for us as Lions fans. Another intriguing game. Sunday at 1, Buffalo at Jacksonville. Buffalo comes in as a 1.5 point favorite. Buffalo is very fraudy this year. I think their window is closing. I think they're getting a little nervous about, is the window done? Do they have a chance to actually win it this year? But with these playoffs, with the teams that are in it, anyone has a shot. Jacksonville, first-year coach there. They've had an awesome year. I would love if the Jags won the Super Bowl. I wouldn't care. Basically, we're looking at this Super Bowl, like who do I want to win? And from the perspective of a Lions fan and who I like and don't like, there's 3 teams I don't want to win the Super Bowl. Everyone else I'm looking up and down just to make sure, I could live with. Everyone else I could live with. Number 1, I don't want Chicago winning the Super Bowl, and they won't. So we're not worried about that. I don't want Green Bay winning the Super Bowl, and they won't. And I don't want the Rams. I really do not want the Rams to win the Super Bowl. I would arguably almost rather have Green Bay win the Super Bowl than the Rams. It's kind of a tough, curious how you guys feel about that. Like, I really don't want to deal with the Rams winning another Super Bowl, man. Like, I really don't want to do that. Like, I think I could handle Green Bay better. But those 3 shouldn't win. Everything else after that, I can live with. And then, like, ones you kind of lean towards rooting, like harmless ones, like Buffalo. Fine with you, Buffalo. Good. Gritty city. You guys went to 4 Super Bowls in a row, for Christ's sake. Don't even know how you as fans survived that. That's insane. But you guys can win it. You're cool. Jacksonville, why not? Outside of Green Bay, arguably the most random city to have a professional sports team. Fucking heart of Jacksonville. Shout out Pizzo. Pizzo loves Jacksonville. He went to the Jacksonville Carnival. Why not? We'll all start jagging off. Let's do it. Unfortunately, they play each other in the first round. And this is really tough for me. Like, I think Jacksonville's the better team, but there's something about the Bills, that Josh Allen just has kind of that magic in the playoffs. But you look at this line, if we're going from a Vegas standpoint, and you look at the line of Bills, Jags, and it's 1.5. Jags are dogs, 1.5. And I think a lot of people are going to look at that line and say, oh, I'm taking the Bills. I'm taking the Bills. They're the better team, and I like that line. But right now, the money is split down the middle. So who am I going to take gun to head? I'm going to take the Jags. I'm going to take the Jags over Buffalo in that game. Next game, Sunday, 4:30. Going to be an entertaining one. Excited to see who wins this game. Big Detroit hate game here. Like, I really wouldn't like either of these teams to win the Super Bowl, but if they had to, over the 3 I mentioned before, that'd be just fine. San Francisco versus the Eagles. Eagles are favored at 4.5. San Francisco's very banged up. They're injured just like we are, but they fought through it and ended up, making the playoffs at a clip of 12-5. Now, to me, that line feels big, and I'm curious if that's what they want you to feel about it. But in this game, I'm going to take the Eagles to win this game, but I'll take San Fran to cover. But we'll pick the winners. I'm going Eagles to win that game. Chargers, Patriots. I think this is going to be a very good game as well. The Chargers can look like world beaters, look like a very strong team, Super Bowl contenders, until they don't. And the Patriots have just kind of been the beacon of consistency this year. Mike Vrabel has got these boys humming. Drake May is a breakout star this year. So the Patriots favored at 3.5. I think they win this game over the Chargers. And then Monday Night Football, Steelers, Houston. Now, this is very interesting. I feel like a lot of people are going to be on Houston. Their defense is the best unit in football. They are absolutely one of the hottest teams right now. And Aaron Rodgers is, 49 years old and can't get out of the pocket. And he's just old. He's just fucking old. And he's weird. But the Steelers are just like this weird, team. They just find ways to get it done. And they find ways to get it done, especially at home. And especially at home on Monday night. And I feel like they've won their last 10 home games on Monday night. Now, I could look that up, but they have a huge winning streak of Monday night home games. I am going to go upset, and I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers in this game. I think Houston's the better team. I think they're the hotter team. But I think there's just some magic I'm calling it Heinz Field still, at Heinz Field at Monday night in the playoffs, and Tomlin just won't get rid of his job. He just will not get fired from his fucking job. He won't do it. He won't let it go. And I respect the hell out of Tomlin for that. So I am picking the Steelers for first round. So wild card weekend, we got Rams, Packers, Jags, Eagles, Patriots, Steelers. A lot of home teams in there. Road team winners. I got Rams and Green Bay. Everyone else, I'm taking the home team. And the one I'm most dicey on is honestly not even the Steelers at home. It's the Jags. I think I'm rooting Jags. Honestly, I wish that was the Super Bowl, which I know makes no sense, but Bills Jags would be a good way to go. But very excited for Wild Card Weekend. We also got college football playoff. I'll be another one to admit, I haven't watched a lot of college football. NIL has kind of ruined college for me. And not even so much NIL, it's the transfer portal. You just used to know who was on your squad, and you used to know who was going to be on your squad for at least 3 to 4 years. And now there's just no loyalty. Guys are just bouncing around willy-nilly all the time. Commitment day means nothing. I know this is old man yelling at cloud boomer stuff, but this is how I feel about college football. But this year, and the college football playoff has been pretty bad since it started. And even the first round of this kind of sucked as well. It's you got teams like Tulane over Notre Dame, which no one wants to see. Why are we doing this? But the Final Four, the second round, and now the Final Four, I'm excited for. It's been entertaining. Oregon blew out Texas Tech, fine, whatever. Watching Indiana mollywop Alabama was bizarro world. Just watching Indiana beat up the blue blood of Alabama football 38-3, crazy watch. Ole Miss, Georgia, best game of the playoff by far. I don't think anybody would really argue that. That game rocked. What Ole Miss is doing with everything that went on with Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin's the face of NIL football, losing their coach, winning that game over another, blue blood SEC program in Georgia. Just awesome stuff. And then you got the U. The U being good is good for college football, man. They're just a swaggy ass cool team. Them beating Ohio State. So now you got this very interesting Final Four Big Ten matchup, Indiana, Oregon, which is just insane to call it a Big Ten matchup. It's insane that Indiana is the number one team and that Oregon's in the Big Ten. And that is going to be hopefully just an absolutely awesome game. We get that Thursday we get that Friday. And then the Thursday before we get Ole Miss, Miami. Miami, one of the most popular teams in college football, against this jumpstart Ole Miss team. So I'm hoping for a championship of Ole Miss, Indiana. I think that would just be a really exciting final. I think I'd root for Indiana. How do you not love a program that's arguably the worst in college football, worst in the Big Ten for so long, to just in a couple of years be vaulted to where they are? Now, like I said, Michigan State guy here, hoping Fitzpatrick can have the same effect Cignetti had on Indiana. I know people talked about State was going to interview Cignetti, hire Cignetti. Didn't happen, but good for the college football playoff this year, but college football has a lot of issues in general. But guys, if you've ever played men's league hockey, you already know the sweater matters. And that's where men's league sweaters comes in. They make fully custom hockey jerseys built specifically for men's league players, pro-level materials, clean designs, and a fit that actually feels right on the ice. Not boxy, not cheap, just solid. And their customizer is the absolute most fun thing to use building a jersey. I can't recommend it more. Even if you're not going to buy jerseys, just go play with that customizer. because it's a lot of fun to build jerseys from scratch, and they make it super easy. So whether you need a fresh look for the season, a last-minute replacement set, or a design that actually represents your team, Men's League Sweaters makes the process very easy from start to finish. You pick the colors, the logo, the names, all of it, and Men's League Sweaters handles the rest. So if you're tired of wearing jerseys that look and feel like an afterthought, it's time to upgrade, you benders. Check out mensleaguesweaters.com and get your team geared up the right way. You know, a lot of times we're talking sports, or I'm talking about myself, and that's what the show has been. It's been about myself, and then it's been about sports. But let's end with some pop culture. And we talked about the college football playoff and college football in general, like needing some help and needing some support and not being perfect and maybe not being great. And maybe the playoffs it doesn't end the way we think it should. And that's what I would like to talk about here with something that a lot of the world is talking about, and that's Stranger Things. That's Stranger Things. Now, I don't know if you watched Stranger Things, you didn't watch Stranger Things. I would argue that this Stranger Things was the largest collective TV show finale since Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, the whole world was on fire. The memes, the internet. We came together as a world to observe and watch and react. And that's fun. We don't get that as much these days, which is fine. That's how the internet works. It's why guys like me are able to record stuff. There's niches. Everything is so niched down into what people's interests are that there's not mass appeal and mass camaraderie and everyone watching all the same things. It's all segmented, and that's fine. That's just the way the world is now. So, but when there is these moments of a Game of Thrones final season and finale, and there's so many people watching it, and you can turn to the person next to you and chat about it and get their opinions and all of this, it's a lot of fun. And that's how I felt with Stranger Things. I've watched Stranger Things since it was released, season 1, episode 1, before it got hype and build. Like, it was just a new thing on Netflix, and I watched it. And I'm not saying I'm an early adopter or like ahead of anybody. And like I said, I don't gatekeep what is free for people to watch, or like, you know, free, open for people to watch. Like, however you want to enjoy it. If you're catching up, you're not a super fan, that's fine. But I definitely loved Stranger Things. Like, I nerded out to Stranger Things quite a bit through the 5 seasons, at least the 4 seasons leading up to this 5th one. I mean, like, I have 2 pairs of Stranger Things Nikes. Just to, like, if that's like the baseline of like how into the show are you, like, I have 2 Hawkins High School tennis shoes, like the track shoe and the basketball shoe. So huge Stranger Things fan. The visuals of it, the storytelling of it, like the adolescence of it, the small town mystery of it, the characters, the writing, I thought was awesome. Okay. Now, Stranger Things has grown into this mass worldwide appeal, and the build up to the final season was so big and so large, and all anyone could think about was, please don't let this be, please, for the love of fuck, don't let this be an ending like Game of Thrones. And while I don't think this final season was as egregious as Game of Thrones, it was fucking close. It was bad. It was bad, guys. It was really bad. And like, there were so many holes and loops in the stories, and not even like holes and loops and like, I don't know, production errors, all that nitpick stuff. If you're like chronically online, which I am, like, there was just on the very high level for me, there was no twists. There was no big emotional moment, and nothing tied in to all of the open end loose ends throughout the show. That was the biggest thing for me, is I thought we were going to get, oh, that makes sense, that makes sense, that makes sense. There was a lot of backstories that I believe were started that the loop was never closed on. And that's why this thing just fell flat to me. In the ends of the earlier seasons, there was these big emotions. Like when you think Hopper dies, and Hopper writes a letter to Eleven, and it's emotional, and it's about growing up and the loss of innocence and all of that. There's like these deeper ties. It felt emotional. It felt meaningful. And really, there wasn't a lot of that in this last season. Now, it's easy to point out all the negatives, but I will say in the one vein of like emotionality and things I connected to and felt real, I will point out one scene that I did think was really well done. And it was the only real scene of season 5 where I felt something. I felt like some emotional tie. I was like, oh, there's some growth there or something happened. And it was when Dustin and Steve started fist fighting each other. I thought that was like an extremely well done friendship crescendo builder of like, you know, I'm annoyed with you, you're annoyed with me, this is festering, this is building, I'm growing up, you're growing up, are we friends, you like this guy more. That was the only scenario in this whole final season to me that felt like personal growth and emotional connectivity that I had to it. Everything else just felt like fake or layered on or plastered on top or like square peg round hole. Now, like the absolute obvious critique that is the easiest one to go after is like, dude, Will, we don't care that you're gay. We don't care. I mean, we care for you, Will, but we have shit to do. There's things to do, Will, and one of those things is not talk about your sexuality right now. The timing of it, the length of it, the weirdness of it, it didn't need to be that at all. And we all know it. And the dead horse has been beaten 1,000 times, but this is my time to talk about Stranger Things. And like, this is like, I have to talk about it. Like everyone knew that he was gay. And it was like, the whole audience knew it. The viewers knew it. And there's like this understanding that the characters knew it because it was just so outwardly obvious. And like, it didn't need to be this big production. And it didn't need to be the big buildup right before one of the largest, most intense scene of the show. And I feel like it's like the Duffer Brothers thought they like did something with that. And in reality, they just dragged something out way too long that didn't need to happen. And that is kind of how that scenario of like Will being gay, like obviously it's the most talked about because it's the easiest one to talk about. It's like the most memeable thing. It's, you know, it's like the funniest thing to point at. It's like if you don't watch the show or you're like a quote unquote casual, it's like the easiest thing to point at. But that long drawn out dialogue of like over explaining to the audience, like kind of felt like what this whole season 5 was, whether it was like explaining the 2 dimensions that we had to go through, explaining plans on how to deal with the dimensions, explaining like how Max navigated Vecna's mind and like how Holly was involved. It just felt like a lot of dialogue and a lot of talking without a lot of things being tied in together. And it's actually so bad. Like, I don't think this will be new to anybody listening to this, especially if you're a Stranger Things fan, but producer Mike texted me the other night and was like, have you seen Conformity Gate? I was like, what the hell is Conformity Gate? And it's basically this theory that there's going to be another episode of Stranger Things. There's 8 episodes in this final season. There's going to be a final episode, episode 9. And it's basically people walking through the entire season 5 and pointing out all of the things that they didn't like about the final season that would make it seem like Vecna was in control the whole time. Now, type in Conformity Gate, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, anywhere. You're going to see a million things, and people will explain it a lot better than I will. But a lot of these things that they're showing are like production inconsistency errors, people looking at the camera, people breaking the 5th wall, hairdos, how they're sitting. And it's basically saying like Vecna's built this false world through Mike's mind and everyone's conformed to what he wants. And it shows a lot of quotes of them playing D&D and saying like, you know, when Max is all pissed at the end, like, oh, happiness and comfort, that's how this is going to end. It's such bullshit. It's such bullshit. And people are picking up little clues from like even like the Instagram and Netflix itself that are outside of the show, like marketing things. Like WWE did an event last night, and there were people in this crowd holding up signs that says, "Wake up, Mike. Wake up, Mike." And they did like a whole Stranger Things graphic during WWE. So there's a lot of evidence that you could create to make it think that a 9th episode is coming out. And everyone thinks it's coming out today, which apparently is Orthodox Christmas because of some quote the fucking Duffer Brothers said. Now, this is like tinfoil hat stuff. Like, I know, like, I'm not explaining this well, but I need you guys to check out Conformity Gate. Like, I don't think it would be incredible. In summary, it would be incredible if the Duffer Brothers released this 9th episode in the way that Conformity Gate and the internet has put this together. It would be incredible. But the reality is I don't think it's going to happen. I hope I'm wrong. I absolutely hope I'm wrong. But I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen whatsoever. And in turn, it really just looks so awful that the fan base is so upset with this ending and dissatisfied that they've essentially ruled that the whole season was a sham, and it was an intentional sham because it's built up to this conspiracy theory fake 9th episode. I don't think it's going to happen, and I want you to look into it. But yeah, I mean, they basically give you justifications for why things made no sense. Like, why did and it's like the things, you know, we're all questioning. Like, I don't know. Like, why did the military just like let them go? And I get like, it doesn't really help the story. Like, what are you going to do? Watch them all go through trial? But like Nancy Wheeler was like picking off military guys' heads, like shooting them in the face, killing them. And, you know, they were just let go. And you could just go down a list of all of this. Like, why did Nancy Wheeler turn into Rambo? Why did the movie turn into a Marvel movie? Why was Kali involved at all? What did she do? She sucked. Why were you involved? Kali was only involved in like 2 episodes of like season 2 that everyone hated. And she came back and like didn't even have the impact to justify her returning. The fake friend group at the end of Steve, Nancy, Robin, and Byers. Like, what was that all about? Byers and Steve like said they hated each other. Like, Robin and Nancy weren't friends. Well, they're huddling on the roof and hanging out. Like, it was just a very frustrating end and easier said than done. But how come these big mass appeal shows cannot land the fucking plane? Why can't they do it? Here's my thoughts. And I'm not a writer, and we'd have to go a lot deeper into the show. But at a very, very base high level, where I think Stranger Things should have ended is when Will gets powers. When Will gets powers and snaps fucking Vecna's neck and the Demogorgons and he saves everyone's life, that to me was the biggest, most exciting scene of the final season, bar none. That was the only moment of like, holy fucking shit, Stranger Things, Will has powers. Are you kidding me? They could have made that the crescendo of the whole thing. Like, build it up more, like, make that the centerpiece of the end of the movie or the end of the series. Not fighting a Avengers Doomsday outer space creature with fucking trash can lid shields and pop guns and flares. What? Like, how does that even, how this actually ends? You should have done something with Will figuring out his powers, which could have been symbolic of him being accepting of who he is, which is a gay guy. He realizes who he is. He's not afraid anymore. He snaps fucking Vecna's neck. It's hive mind shit. Everything dies. Everything blows up. It collapses. The military falls in with him. Done. Kali doesn't need to be involved whatsoever. Don't need that broad. Fuck it. Everyone's fine. And maybe 11 falls in. Maybe 11 is hooked to Vecna. So Will, in the process, snaps her neck. But it had to be done. And like her dying breath is like, it's okay. I always knew this was the way. You just need to believe in yourself. And then you get the like coming of age, the coming out, and the fucking awesome twist at the end where Will's the new fucking 11 and we, 11's dead and we're sad about it. That to me was the moment. That was it. Build up to Will doing that. Everyone screams. It goes nuts. That to me was it. That's how I would have done it. They don't ask me to do these things. Obviously, a lot more things would need to be answered, like fucking Creel's backstory. What? Henry's backstory was awful. Holly, Jesus Christ, how much screen time do you need? Dipshit Derek was kind of funny, but there should have been. It should have been around Will getting the power, snapping necks, and the whole thing just crumbles. And maybe and 11 probably dies. 11 probably dies. And maybe she did die, but there was also like a weird cop out. And even if another episode did come out tonight, the amount of work they would have to do in fucking 2 hours to fix all that, to pull that all together, like they could just pull out another shitty episode. And then here we are again. So it's one of those things where I'll still love Stranger Things forever, but definitely like that 5th season, it's like watching The Office after Michael left. Like there might be a few good things, there's a few good spots, but for the most part, you're just going to watch the earlier seasons. So that's my thoughts. That's what we have. Talked a little bit about myself and the biz. We got some sports updates. That was Stranger Things, a little pop culture update. Thank you guys for listening. That's episode 1. Hope to see you next week. We'll do this week in and week out. Would love your feedback on what you liked, what you didn't like, what you want to hear, and share with a friend. Thank you guys.